Well, you're 2 weeks away from the 2024 NHL Draft. In today's video, we're going to take a look at all the latest intel we've heard for all the rumors and trades we may see at this event. There's multiple teams with lots of picks, lots of players out there on the market as well. What will we see? We'll discuss what's in the rumor mill coming up now. Welcome back to another video here at Top Shelf Hockey. As I mentioned, we have another video here I want to talk about looking at the rumors that's expected to see for the upcoming 2024 NHL Draft. We've been doing one of these videos about once a week. Obviously, a lot of the news and intel and things in the rumor mill kind of changes and gets updated as time goes on. And so we're 2 weeks out now from the draft, so we should have we're getting close. So lots of things are going to start to pick up here, especially once the Stanley Cup's awarded, which could be very, very soon, considering as I record this video, we have 3 games in, and currently the Panthers lead the Oilers 3-0, so it may not be much longer before the season is officially over. All teams in off-season mode, and the rumor mill around the draft and free agency and everything will really kind of ramp up here. But before we get into a lot of the rumors, just a reminder, some of the teams that we expect to be the most busy are the teams that have multiple first-round picks or teams that don't have a first-round pick but would like to get back in to that first round and grab a prospect. But a lot of these teams that have multiple picks, they're more likely to maybe use a second one to see if they can trade for an impact player that can join the roster right away, or perhaps they'll package that with another asset and try and move up, things like that. So they're typically the teams that are going to be the most busy. So the teams that have multiple first-round picks include San Jose, who also picked first overall. They have pick 1 and 14 in the first round. Plus you've got the Blackhawks, the Canadiens, the Senators, the Ducks, the Flames, and the Flyers, all with multiple first-round picks. And like I said, I think a lot of those, the lower ones, like the second one for a lot of those teams, will certainly, I think, be available if they can find getting an impact player. Now, if you take a look at where all those teams are at in terms of their rebuilds or where things are heading, San Jose is a different beast. They're still in the process of completing the teardown. I don't think they'll move their first-rounders for an impact player. I can see Anaheim probably not doing that either, but a team like Calgary and Philly, who are more in a retool, I think they would ideally like to get themselves into a situation where they can improve for next year. So if they can use that second first rounder to get a player that come in next year and have immediate impact, I think they would consider that. Same with Montreal and Ottawa. Obviously, they're not teams that have been in the playoffs yet after going through rebuilds, but they're certainly hoping to do so soon, and certainly could use more players who can help them today, not necessarily in 2-3 years time. So we will see where that goes. In Chicago's case, even though they're basically just completed the teardown and got Connor Bedard first overall last year, but they're already at a point where they've accumulated enough picks and prospects that they seem like they want to be a more competitive team, add some more stronger players who can play with Bedard and put a better product on the ice and take this thing a step forward here. So I still expect Chicago to also be a team that could be busy in that sense as well. So amongst the first-round picks that we think very well could be in play, we've heard obviously Buffalo and New Jersey, certainly 2 teams to watch, 10 and 11. The Devils, we know, have kind of had their eyes on getting a goaltender. But there's not just goaltender trades that are in the horizon for New Jersey. We've heard from insiders saying that New Jersey actually, and Tom Fitzgerald, the GM, has a bit of a wish list. He has a lot of things that he wants to try to accomplish this offseason. And if he does it, he thinks that this New Jersey team can go back to not only being a playoff team, but being a contender. They obviously do want to find and solidify their goaltending. They made a bunch of moves last year. They have Jake Allen. He's under contract, but they want to find a bona fide starter to work with him in a tandem type of situation. So they have that, but they also would like to add a top 6 forward. They're looking for some good veteran bottom 6 help, and they would like to add another defenseman that has experience, and ideally somebody who can play top 4 minutes. They have a lot of youth on that back end, and they would like to add, just to take the pressure off of those guys and to help with the experience side, add another experienced defender back there. So like Tom Fitzgerald has a variety of things he's looking at, although this pick, to me, being where it's at number 10, I think it's either going to have to be, for a top goalie, whether it be a guy like, Saros or Markstrom, who they've been linked to. Maybe Allmark. I'm not sure if I haven't heard them being linked to Allmark. It's mostly been Markstrom with a little bit of Saros mixed in there. But yeah, they could possibly get a top 6 forward too. But New Jersey will definitely be a key team to watch. Buffalo wants to add a top 6 forward, and their first round pick's definitely something that's at play. If you take a look at some of the names that we've heard out there that are very likely to get moved around the time of the draft, they could be a team to watch. I mean, the Sabres might be a team that goes in for a team like a Natchez or a Zegras or one of those players. And if they can land their top first round pick will certainly be in play. Now, we've heard as well as recently as just the past 24 or 48 hours here that Ottawa's pick at number 7 also is flexible to be moved. I mean, Ottawa had an event in their arena with season ticket holders, and they had the president of the business ops, Cy Leader, as well as the executive vice president of hockey ops, Dave Poulin, there answering questions, talking to the fans. And one of the things that Poulin was asked was, with your first round pick at number 7, is it, who are you going to be picking, trading? What are you going to be doing? And he said they've had a lot of interest in the pick. And what they've told teams is that they're absolutely flexible. And he said that they feel like they need to be, because you just don't know what offer is going to come in. If you start telling people, absolutely not, we're not moving the pick, we want to take a good player, okay, as much as you might prefer that, you're not going to really have teams making you offers. So they'd like to at least hear what teams have to say. They have to listen. That's their job, is to see what they can make the team better. So at the end of the day, they are flexible. And if the right deal comes along, they certainly are open to it. At the same time, I think they could get a really good player who could help this team sooner than later. I mean, number 7, they're bound to get themselves, whether it be a top forward or a really strong D to help that blue line. Maybe not a player that plays this year, but they could maybe play as early as next year, and could be a big impact piece. There's no doubt. So I'm not entirely convinced Ottawa is willing to move the pick. I think it'd have to be a phenomenal deal. But we know that the Senators have been a team that's been linked to a lot of different conversations out there. I mean, we've had insiders say that if there's a goalie trade happening, they're involved. We've even had comments from owner Michael Landlauer who said his phone's been going off the hook lately because GM Steve Staios is calling them, so many times a day, telling them all the things that they're thinking of and talking about, and they're getting calls and this and that. Like, they are an extremely active team with trying to shake things up and move this team forward. So there's no doubt that they are going to be a team to watch. Now, there's also been information that's been, I guess you could say, leaked, and I wonder if, how much. Sometimes this might be posturing, but the Senators are reportedly very interested in one of the top forwards in the draft, Tisha Ginla. So we know that obviously the history between the Ginla family and the Calgary Flames, and there's no doubt with Jerome working for the Flames and one of his best buddies, Craig Conroy, being the GM, I have no doubt they'd absolutely love to get Jerome's son with their first round pick, and they're picking at number 9. And we know that the Senators have been one of the teams linked to the Flames goalie, Jacob Markstrom. I kind of wonder if that's been leaked just to kind of maybe entice them to want to trade with them. I don't know. But again, if Ottawa taking a Ginla might seem like a crazy thought in some senses, just because most people have been fixated on them getting another top blue liner, and they really could use that. But they have to take the best player available when you're picking that high. There's no doubt. And at the same time, if you think a Ginla is going to be a bigger impact player than any defenseman you can get there, then you should do it. I mean, if you look at their roster, could they use another top 6 forward? They absolutely could. There's no doubt. I mean, you got Brady Tkachuk, Tim Stützle, Drake Batherson. You've got, Josh Norris if he can stay healthy. A couple big surgeries. Shane Pinto has that possibility. Claude Giroux, but Giroux's 36 years old. Like, they need another one. There's no doubt they don't have enough depth there. So if Ginla can be that top 6 winger, imagine Ginla and Brady Tkachuk being your 2 left wingers. That's a phenomenal 1-2 punch if he turns out to be the player we think he's going to be. So there's no doubt that I think it's a real possibility if they stay and hold that pick, that if he's available, that Ginla turns out to be their guy and not a Zane Parekh or not a Sam Dickinson. Of course, the order is, depending on who you talk to, I think this is going to be a bit of a wild draft, because outside of Celebrini, and maybe Levshunov going number 2, I see a lot of consensus there that it's wide open. It really is. And Dave Poulin was talking to that effect, saying that they really have no idea what players are going to be available when they pick. So they have to look at all that and have a kind of a, obviously an order of guys that they like more than others. And then obviously want to talk to teams about trading. Still, if they can get an asset they can use right away, then obviously there's that. Because the Sens, if they do trade with Calgary, maybe they work out a deal if they get Markstrom, that maybe they swap picks and they move from 7 to 9. So the Flames get benefit from moving up, and the Sens move back, and maybe they still get themselves a good defenseman, and they get themselves a goalie. Like, there's multiple options. They will be a busy team. There's no doubt. Another name that's on the goalie front that's popped up, though, that we could see moved at the draft and has been linked to the Sens because I know it's a change of regime, so they're not as familiar, but a lot of guys internally would be, is Philip Gustafson, who they traded to Minnesota in exchange for Cam Talbot. That did not work out, but Gustafson did much better in Minnesota, and because of the fact that they have Marc-Andre Fleury still under contract, and they have an up-and-comer Jesper Wallstedt who's ready to make the jump, he's on the market now, and they could get Gustafson back. I don't know what kind of trade package that would cost, but it's another name that's been mentioned in Senators' goalie trade circle. So we will see. I think it's going to be very interesting. And, of course, we don't know about Jakob Chychrun. If he is going to be traded, it's a prime time to happen at the draft. He could be involved in a goalie trade. He could be involved in a top 6 forward trade. He could end up signing an extension and completely staying. It's not that they don't like Chychrun. They really like the player. I think they're more than anything concerned about his next contract and the fact that if he's going to be wanting similar money to Chabot and Sanderson, they can't have 3 defensemen on the left side making $8 million. There's just no way. You can't justify that. And Sanderson's their top guy, youngest guy, not going anywheres. And Chabot's been there a long time, leader on the team. So it does look like Chychrun would be the odd man out if they go down that road. But it's not a given yet. He still has a year left, and they don't have to make that choice just yet. So we will see where things go on Chychrun. But he's a name that could be involved. Eric Brandstrom's another name to watch as well. But there's also a possibility Brandstrom could stay. But I think for him to stay, they would probably need him to take an offer on a contract below his qualifying offer. And I'm not sure he's going to want to do that. So we'll see on that front. The St. Louis Blues, I think, are another team to watch as well. They're not a team with multiple first-round picks, but they do have multiple players who can fit in a top 6 or top 9 role that are rumored to be available, being Pavel Buchnevich and Brandon Saad. Buchnevich being the more likely of the two to get moved. He's got 1 year left at $5.8 million. Not that they don't like the player, but I think, again, looking where the team is kind of trying to get younger, faster, more skilled, which is they've been working on that, and it's been going well. They have Robert Thomas, Jordan Kyrou, good young leaders. Jake Neighbors took a big step this year. They have had a fair bit of picks in the past couple of years to get some more interesting talent coming, and they could get back and get another first rounder this year as well by moving a guy like this. So again, looking at some of the teams that might be in that middle first round, that 15 to 25 range that might be in the market for a top 6, I can see them maybe offering up a guy like Buchnevich. I wouldn't rule out a team like the Islanders, for example. We know they want to get in on that type of player. Obviously, Buchnevich is going to need an extension, so that might be part of the conversations with any team. Islanders come to mind, but there's lots of teams out there that could certainly fit that bill. So we will see on that front. Saad, 2 years at 4.5. I don't think they've moved them both. They both were productive last year. And listening to Doug Armstrong speak when they had the Blues press conference a few days ago, just announcing that Alex Dean would become the next general manager in 2 years' time, and he signed a 5-year contract to work with Doug Armstrong in the meantime. Armstrong, the way he spoke, it sounded to me like they're going to continue to try to retool this team and make it younger. And he said, I don't know that they have an expectation to make the playoffs next year. Obviously, he said, the hope is next year at the deadline that the team is done well enough that the team can say to him, like, okay, we've done our part. You need to get us some help for it because we feel like we can make a playoff run. And there's some talk, maybe Jordan Binnington could be made available. Again, I think it's less likely. I think they really like Joel Holfer. I'm not sure they're ready to completely hand the reins over to him just yet. That might be a deal, but maybe is a year out. But look for St. Louis to maybe be an interesting team to watch there as well. In Chicago, as I mentioned, they got pick 18. I wouldn't rule out them going after one of these players to go after a player like whether it be Marty Necas or Trevor Zegras or any of these guys. Now, they may not have the assets to get Necas. As I've said before in other videos, the Canes really want a star-powered younger player to go back in a trade for him. I don't think Chicago has one of those that they're really willing to part with right now. So, again, I think Necas is less likely, but I wouldn't rule out a player like Zegras. Zegras and the Ducks have been rumored to be parting ways for some time. Zegras has been linked to a team like Montreal as well. We know Montreal has a second first round pick. So again, Montreal's been linked to Zegras. They've been linked to Line. They've been linked to Kakko, another player to watch from New York. He could be easily moved to the draft too. But again, Trevor Zegras, I wouldn't rule out Chicago maybe making a play for a player like him with pick 18. They certainly made a trade with the Islanders to get up higher in the first round, and I do wonder if that might be why. Maybe they've had conversations with other teams about guys that could be available for trade, and if they said if you get a first-round pick high enough, maybe they'll consider it. I mean, a team like, Chicago would make a lot of sense. Zegras could really flourish with a guy like Bedard, but again, that's hard to say. I think there's going to be lots of interest in that player, and we'll see. The Avalanche, don't rule out them using their first-round pick at number 24. I would not be shocked if they went out and either tried to find another a cheaper version of a top 6 forward or top 9 forward, or even a goalie trade. I know they rode with Alex Georgiev last year. I don't know if they feel that that's good enough, though. And he's only got 1 year left on his contract. He's not making a ton of money. He could be moved. I wouldn't be shocked if they made a play for a guy like Allmark or somebody. Doesn't mean it's going to happen, but clearly I think they would not be opposed to an upgrade between the pipes. And that pick could very well be in play. There's also Jake Gensel's trading rights. Is Vancouver going to make a move there? Vancouver is going to probably have a lot of flexibility. Sounds like they're losing Elias Lindholm. It sounds like they're probably not going to be able to retain Dakota Joshua. It sounds like Sam Lafferty's hitting the market. Lots of these free agents, Zadorov in Vancouver, are sounding like they're not going to be staying. So, bringing in Jake Gensel and getting his signing rights, who Carolina has out there for a trade, again, which would involve a draft pick, I can see that happening too. It could happen ahead of the draft too. If he's not traded and signed before the draft, then I can see it definitely happening on the first day of the draft. To me, that just makes too much sense. So we will see. Like I said, in Montreal and Ottawa both picked low in the first round with their second first rounders. 25 for Ottawa, 26 for Montreal. I'd be shocked if those teams make picks there. I really think they're going to be used. I think Ottawa's more likely to pick at 7, unless they figure out a way, like I said, to maybe move back just a couple spots or something. Otherwise, that pick 25 would be one that you'd expect to be more likely in play. Like Ottawa might be able to entice Boston for Allmark because it's Boston's pick. Maybe Boston gets their first round pick back if Allmark will go to Ottawa, because that's a big if. He's obviously got trade protection, so it's a lot of his say. Of course, like I said, they're involved with Markstrom and Gustafsson. They're all over the place. I really think that the Sens are going to be one of the busiest teams to watch. At least the potential is there. So we will see all kinds of interesting things that can happen, especially in the first day of the draft with the first rounders. Like I said, I can see as many as 6 or 7 of these picks definitely being moved and being for top quality players who can go to teams and have impacts immediately. So again, lots of stuff. I mean, we could see a Mitch Marner trade. We could see a Nick Ehlers, Zegras, Necas, Kakko, Gensel's rights, Buchnevich, all kinds of names that have been out there and very heavily rumored to be moved, and this is the time that we will see it. Another thing to watch that we've learned too, one of the top prospects that have been linked to teams like Montreal, Utah, in that 5-6 range is Caden Lindstrom, the top center. Like I said, he has potential to be a power forward type of centerman, goal scoring type of guy. Missed a lot of time this year with a bad back, and it was believed to be a herniated disc. So at a young age like that, you got to really, how much of a concern is that going to be for teams? I do wonder if it'll cause his draft stock to slip a little bit. This seems like an unusual injury at that young of an age, but at the same time, with everything medical where it is, I think that's something that could be corrected and may not be an issue moving forward. But I know he didn't do a lot of the testing stuff at the draft combine, and that just kind of might shy some teams off. I wonder for a player like him, there is some speculation that it could cause his stock to slip a little bit. Maybe he won't go as high as we think. But again, time will tell. Let me know your thoughts on all the latest talk and speculation around the 2024 NHL draft. Lots of things that are going to be likely happening. And of course, it's probably not all going to go down, but a lot of it to keep us entertained and talking about the great game of hockey. So let me know your thoughts and what you expect and hope to see happen down in the comments. We'll discuss further. If you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe and stick around. We'll keep you up to date with the latest news, rumors, and analysis of all 32 NHL teams. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you next time.